Off the coast of Mexico, a shark fin smuggler named Captain Carlos Santiago was conducting an illegal deal with a businessman named Palmer when a powerful hurricane struck. At that moment, a waterspout spawned a tornado that hurled dozens of sharks onto Santiago's boat, and everyone aboard, including the captain and the buyer, was quickly killed by the attacking sharks. The scene then shifted to Santa Monica, California. Finn, a former pro surfer who now owned a beachfront bar, was anxiously watching the volatile weather. His good friend Baz pointed out the unusually high level of shark activity. Inside Finn's bar, Nova, a bartender who harbored a deep hatred for sharks, was serving drinks. George, a slightly perverted but loyal customer, was also there. Suddenly, numerous sharks in the water began attacking swimmers near the shore. Baz was unlucky enough to be bitten in the leg by one of the sharks, but Finn managed to save him, and his injury was not fatal. The group then returned to the bar. As the storm intensified, Finn called his ex-wife, April Wexler, to check on their daughter, Claudia. But April did not take the impending disaster seriously. Just then, a shark crashed through the window. But Nova killed it with a billiard cue at the last second. The hurricane made landfall, and a massive tidal wave demolished the Santa Monica Pier, completely destroying Finn's bar. Floodwaters poured into the city streets, and even more terrifying, the water was teeming with hungry sharks. Finn, Baz, Nova, and George decided to drive to Beverly Hills to rescue April and Claudia. On their way to April's house, they encountered flooded highways and people trapped by rising waters, so they stopped along the way to help. They soon discovered a dog trapped inside a car. George bravely rushed forward to rescue it, a noble act that stood in stark contrast to his earlier flirtatious behavior in the bar. However, just after he freed the dog, a massive wave filled with sharks came crashing toward George, killing him instantly. After losing their friend, the remaining three continued driving. At the same time, they heard a tornado warning, signaling that an even greater threat was approaching. Finn and the others arrived at April's suburban home just in time. April, unaware that the tornado had already hit, refused to let them in. At that moment, a manhole cover was blown into the air, and countless sharks erupted from the sewer. April had no choice but to let them inside. April's boyfriend, Colin, was also in the house, and he immediately taunted Finn with arrogant remarks. Suddenly, floodwaters poured in, and the first floor was submerged with sharks swimming inside. Unfortunately, Colin was attacked and devoured by one of the sharks, dying instantly. From their conversation, we learned that Finn and April also had a son named Matt, who was at a flight school and now trapped by the disaster. So the group prepared to set out once again, this time to rescue Matt. The group continued driving and came upon a school bus trapped by floodwaters, filled with frightened students. Sharks were circling around the bus, putting the children and the driver in grave danger. Finn immediately stopped on an overpass and used a rope to rappel down to the roof of the stranded school bus. He then helped the children and the bus driver climb up the rope one by one, successfully bringing everyone to safety on the overpass. However, just as the last person, the bus driver Robbie, was rescued, a giant letter from the Hollywood sign was torn off by the storm and fell from the sky, crushing the driver instantly. After the bus rescue, Nova drove the vehicle and carried the group away to continue their journey. Before long, a shark plummeted from the sky onto the vehicle's roof, ripping the entire roof clean off. In the chaos, Finn's hand was cut by flying debris, and the vehicle was critically damaged. The group was forced to abandon the car, and seconds later, the wrecked vehicle exploded behind them. They managed to find another working vehicle and continued toward the flight school. Upon reaching the flight school, the group found Matt, who had been taking shelter there. At that moment, a clueless female student was drawn by noises coming from the roof. She stepped outside, only to be sucked away by the powerful winds. By this time, the storm had formed 3 tornadoes that had absorbed both floodwater and sharks, turning into 3 deadly, shark-filled sharknadoes. Faced with this terrifying new threat, the team gathered equipment and materials from a nearby storage facility to carry out their countermeasure plan. During this time, Matt and Nova developed a mutual attraction toward each other. Nova also shared a traumatic story from her childhood with Matt. She had gone on a fishing trip with her grandfather when they were attacked by sharks. Her grandfather and his friends were killed, and Nova narrowly survived, left with a massive shark bite scar on her leg. That experience explained her deep and burning hatred for sharks. To neutralize the sharknadoes, the group came up with a bold plan. Matt, who had flight training, would pilot a helicopter with Nova aboard, and they would drop homemade bombs into the tornado's cores to destroy them. They put the plan into action immediately and successfully dropped bombs into 2 of the tornadoes, causing massive explosions that destroyed both twisters. However, the 3rd tornado remained active, still raging violently. As Matt flew the helicopter near the last sharknado, a huge shark suddenly leaped up and clamped onto the helicopter's landing gear. Nova struggled desperately to knock it away. During the struggle, she accidentally fell from the helicopter and dropped straight into the gaping mouth of another giant shark below. Witnessing Nova's fate, Matt was devastated as he hovered helplessly above. Meanwhile, on the ground, Baz and 2 of Matt's flight school friends, Bobby and Llewellyn, were caught in the storm and were presumed dead. In this critical moment, Finn came up with a final desperate plan to eliminate the last tornado. He rigged a makeshift bomb to a car and drove it directly toward the tornado's core. When the bomb detonated, the last sharknado was destroyed, and all the sharks trapped inside began plummeting from the sky. One enormous shark was falling directly toward where Finn and the others were standing. In a split-second decision, Finn grabbed a chainsaw and leaped straight into the path of the falling shark, diving into its open mouth with the roaring saw. Everyone was horrified, believing Finn had sacrificed himself. But just as they began to mourn, the shark's carcass started to move. Finn cut his way out of the shark's stomach with the chainsaw, miraculously alive. Even more unbelievably, as he emerged, he pulled out Nova, who had been swallowed earlier by the same shark. It turned out that when Nova was swallowed, she had used the knife she carried to fight inside the shark, buying herself precious time to survive. After this harrowing ordeal, Finn and April reconciled their differences, and the whole family embraced together in relief and triumph.